Okay, so here we are. We're in our 8th year of shock manufacturing and our 3rd generation of the Elevensix rear shock. The Elevensix, where did it come from? A lot of people know us as a suspension tuning company. That's where we got our start. We would service and tune mountain bike suspension for Fox and RockShox. So we had a product called the MX Tune, which was a head unit, a compression head unit that we put on Fox shocks. And at the time, a lot of us were riding the Santa Cruz Nomad. So this would have been like it was Generation 2 Nomad, whatever year that was. Probably 2011-ish. And so that bike was great for descending, but for climbing around here in Colorado with the terrain that we have, it was a bit of a compromise. And so if you set up your suspension to improve the climbing performance, well, then it didn't work as good on the descents and vice versa. So I had this idea of taking the MX Tune to the next step, which was how can we figure out to package it with 2 valves? So you can have one valve system that's optimized for climbing and one valve system that was optimized for descending. With that idea in mind, I started to just work out some base CAD work. So I started doing some design stuff to see if I could fit it, package it, just to kind of see what that looked like. And ultimately, the design started to come to light and look like a solid product. About that same period, we had a lot of customers that were requesting for us to make a rear shock. So rather than send their suspension into us, have it tuned and sent back, they were just saying, hey, why don't you guys just make a shock? And that way I can just buy it from you. And so that was kind of in the back of our heads, but we knew that was going to be a really big step for the company. So had this idea. It was going to be a new upgrade for a Fox shock. A couple of things happened which started to veer us towards making our own suspension. And ultimately, one day I decided, hey, we're going to make a shock. So this idea is really good for the dual valves. I don't want to put it on something else. I want to make our own product. We had a lot of experience with tuning suspension. We had some CNC machinery, which we were making pistons and valves and different things. So we had some manufacturing experience. And so I just ultimately decided today is the day we're going to make our own shock. Internally, we use SolidWorks 3D design and simulation software. We use what's called a PDM server. And so that PDM server requires you, when you want to put in files so that you can start collaborating with other people, it requires you to create a file folder, a project name. It's all this stuff. So it was pretty late at night. It was 11/6, about 7 o'clock at night. And I said, I got to get out of here. And so I just wanted to move the CAD files that I had from my computer into the vault and was fumbling for a project name or filling it out. So I just said, you know what? The project name is going to be 11.6. And so I named the project, put my 3D files in, headed home, and that's where 11.6 started. 11.6 came from November 6th, 2013.